The Republique has got to be one of the best battleships in World of Warships Legends, period. If you don't agree with that assessment, well, I would invite you to play the ship yourself first before drawing any conclusions, but if you still don't agree, I think we can all come to the agreement that the Republique is the best premium French battleship to come to the game since the Jean Bart. It may in fact be even better than the Jean Bart. Now, some of you might be familiar with the game that you're watching play out in front of you because it did occur on my most recent stream, and some people in the chat wanted me to make a video out of it, so here I am. But before we get there, let me defend my assertion that the Republique is so very good. I'll defend it with reference to the guns, because it's the guns that make this ship. There are 8 of them, 430, 431 millimeters, can't remember the exact millimeter size, but either way, they are capable of overmatching 30 millimeters of armor plating, which is something that only the likes of Georgia and also Yamato can do, although Yamato's overmatch threshold is a little bit higher than 30 millimeters by 2 millimeters. Nevertheless, these are some of the biggest guns in the game, and they can rip apart the likes of the Edinburgh, which is coated in 30 millimeters of armor, and if I'm not entirely mistaken, the Des Moines at least has 30 millimeter deck armor, which can make it kind of tanky against 16-inch guns at range, but the Republique, no match for that 30 millimeter deck plating. It'll go right through it and deal a lot of damage. And when these guns hit, oh boy, just ask that Iowa. 2 citadels, nearly 40,000 damage, first salvo of the game. These guns, as I said in my first impressions video on the Republique, are not what you could accuse of being pinpoint accurate. The dispersion is not consistent, it's not always reliable, so sometimes when you shoot these guns, only a couple of shells are going to hit the targets, but sometimes when you shoot them, all the shells will hit the target, or at least 2 of them will find the citadel. You never know what you're going to get when it comes to French shotgun dispersion, but it's really not that much of a problem on this ship. With the reload module, I've got these guns reloading in 22 seconds, and that is an outrageously quick reload for guns of this size. So even if one salvo isn't all that spectacular, doesn't do a lot of damage, you're not going to be waiting very long at all before you have a chance to shoot another. And it's just this raw gunpowder that makes the Republique so good. I don't even care that it's not consistently accurate with every single shot. The shells hit so hard and they have such ridiculous penetration at all kinds of ranges, being French of course, that they're just unbeatable. They're just so good. And this ship is just a great battleship. But this game is not necessarily going to be a great game on the part of my team. And I think it warrants some analysis because it's also not going to be a great game on the part of the enemy team. We can see the Iowa and Tirpitz out here on the far flank. We've obviously smacked the Iowa for pretty much all he's worth. He gets smacked again and we finish him off, putting him out of his misery and sending him back to port. That leaves the Tirpitz on this flank inside of this Charlie cap, right next to our Z-23, who is going to die in this Charlie cap after having taken it. And, well, he's not going to take the Tirpitz with him, so my teammates and I are going to have to finish off this German battleship, but already not a good sign. We've traded a destroyer for absolutely nothing. There's really no reason for that Z-23 to die. He could have simply left the cap and remained alive. That Tirpitz would have died anyway. On the bright side, though, the enemy team has lost 3 ships, 2 battleships and a cruiser, although our team just went down yet another destroyer. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Your destroyer is more valuable the longer it stays alive. If you're dying within the first 5 minutes of the game, you honestly might as well have not even played the game. You gotta learn to keep your destroyers alive till the end. They are so crucial to the success of your team. In any case, there goes one of the enemy destroyers, and now we're almost even on ships. The enemy has lost 4. Actually, now we are even. The enemy has lost 4, and we have lost 4. And you would think that we'd be in a good position to pretty much thoroughly dominate the enemy team, because my team is spread out sort of across the map. We've only got a single destroyer there near Alpha. You can see he's behind an island, and he's about to creep out right in front of the rest of the enemy team. Surely he's spotted, given he's within a grid square of those 2 battleships, and they are almost certainly going to take him out, which is not going to be great for our team. We're going to lose our eyes and ears, and that is the final enemy destroyer, while the enemy still has 1 left. Bismarck there is, of course, shooting at our destroyer, so we're going to shoot at the Bismarck as he gets spotted. The Lightning gets spotted a couple feet in front of us, or a couple kilometers, which is kind of terrifying, so we immediately start with the evasive maneuvers. Guns about to be reloaded. Our secondaries are in range to fire, so we switch on the enhanced secondary consumable as the Lightning smokes up, and we hit the Lightning pretty good there for a couple chunks. We're switching to the HE, banking on the quick reload of our guns. Here comes the Lightning's torpedoes, but that's only 4 of them. He's still got 4 more left. They all almost managed to tag us in the stern there, but it's okay. Because of the smoke screen that the Lightning laid, it broke his line of sight to us, and he can no longer see us. So if he wants to launch his other 4 torpedoes, he's gonna have to launch them blind for now. And meanwhile, we're gonna push a little closer to the smoke screen while turning our guns to the other side of our ship, basically changing our course by 180 degrees on the off chance he did launch the rest of those torpedoes. Well, they won't be going in the right direction if he did. We get spotted again, most likely due to the Lightning smokescreen dissipating and the Lightning regaining vision on us, but we are going to turn away. We don't want to turn into the direction of the map where the Lightning is. We want to turn away from it so that we're sailing away from his torpedoes. That's going to make it a lot harder for those torpedoes to hit us, and we've got the Kansas and Bismarck out here somewhere. So we launched the HE that was meant for the Lightning at the Kansas. Doesn't do much, but keep in mind the HE on the Republique is actually quite good, with an alpha strike of 6k and a whopping 48% fire chance. It is very good to use against bow-in battleships in protracted engagements or against destroyers. And the Lightning, feeling somewhat suicidal, I guess, decides to shoot at me, or maybe that was a calculated risk on his part, because he is able to go dark almost instantly, which must have meant he was on the edge of his own firing range, so that's cool. But bad stuff is happening to my team. We've only got 3 ships left and the enemy has 5. This game started off looking pretty decently okay, and we managed to wrest very early cap control from the enemy team, which is going to end up paying dividends in the end. But the fact that all of our destroyers essentially suicided instantly has put us in a bit of a predicament, where we've still got an enemy destroyer to deal with, and as we've seen, that Lightning certainly knows what he's doing, so he's not going to be a very easy customer. Meanwhile, we're sort of waiting for the Kansas to turn broadside, trying to lead him as he does. We nearly get the perfect lead, but we don't quite hit him in the center of the ship, and we aren't able to get a citadel, although we do chunk him pretty good. For whatever reason, our last remaining cruiser is deciding that the battle is over for him. He'd like to go out right in front of the Kansas and the Tirpitz and be taken out. He is a Minotaur. He does get the Confederate medal, so I guess he's been doing something this game, but I think he's going to end up going down. There we get to strike the citadel on the Kansas, and we also get 4 full penetrations at the same time, bringing our damage done total over 100,000. There's a Maine sitting out there in the distance. He appears to be stationary, considering shooting at him, but also considering keeping our guns silent so we can go dark. We do elect to shoot at the Maine, though. He's bow on to us. We're not expecting a whole lot. And he is sort of in a bow-tanking stationary fight with our last remaining battleship teammate. Appears to be shooting HE at him, so he may very well be able to burn our last battleship teammate down. Meanwhile, the Minotaur is doing better than I guess I gave him credit for. He's still alive. He's still trying to farm this Bismarck, who is not quite giving the angle he really should be. Of course, he does manage to get away from it. Our shells sort of fall a little bit short on his ship, hitting the stern. Didn't quite lead him enough there, but we do take out one of his turrets as he smacks that Minotaur for pretty much the rest of his health. Trying to line up that shot again, get these shells up into his superstructure here, and hope we can chunk him pretty good. Meanwhile, we're broadside to the main, which is not ideal. We're going to have to turn our ship here. I was a little bit frustrated the entire time I was playing this game because for some reason I chose gyrating drill bits on my commander build, which is not something I would necessarily recommend for this ship. Even without gyrating drill bits, the alpha strike on this armor piercing is like 14,000, which is more than enough when you get citadels. Gyrating drill bits, I think you can get it up to about 15k, but the problem is you lose 10% of your speed, and I think the speed is part of what makes this ship so good. It's fast, of course, because it's French, and it's got an engine boost, and that allows you to get around the map and position in good places very quickly if you utilize that speed. Of course, with gyrating drill bits, that speed is massively reduced, and the ship can feel kind of sluggish. So, really, I don't recommend gyrating drill bits on this. I think you should take advantage of the speed because it's one of your advantages. And here you can see the HE and store a little bit for this main. It's able to take him out for our second kill of the game. We're now up to 130,000 damage done. We've still got the Kansas, Tirpitz, Lightning, and as of yet, an unidentified enemy cruiser to take care of. But I think we know where the Lightning is. Well, the Vladivostok certainly knows if he didn't know before. The Bravo cap is contested by the Lightning, and the Lightning's torpedoes, well, they don't manage to dev strike the Vladivostok, so that's good. Our teammate's going to live for a little bit longer now. We are trying to get ourselves into a position on this map where we can hopefully get some broadsides on some of these enemies. Bismarck is pushing in. That Minotaur, I apologize for criticizing him earlier. He is still alive. Well, now he's dead, actually, so that just leaves me versus the Bismarck, Kansas, unnamed cruiser, and Lightning. Lightning is in Bravo. Bismarck is directly behind me. The enemy has 660 points, or 658 rather, to our 660, and once the Lightning takes that Bravo cap, they are going to be able to overtake us on points. So what do we do here? This game looks like it could potentially be lost. At least that's what I was thinking at the time I was playing it, but no. There is still a route to victory. And because I have played this battleship rather passively in this game and kept myself safe, not taken too many damage, saved my hit points till near the end here, well, I've got a better chance at winning than I otherwise might. And there we are able to get, I think, a second fire on that Bismarck, which he shouldn't be able to damage con, or actually he has damage conned it, but there are less than 2 minutes left to go in this game, so we really can't bother with stacking dots. We switch back to the AP as we lose sight of the Bismarck coming around this island. We're wary that torpedoes could potentially come through that gap from the Lightning, so we are not going to go through that gap. Instead, we are going to turn straight in toward the Bismarck. This will have the added benefit of putting the island over here to the left of the screen between us and the rest of the enemy team, Tirpitz, Lightning, and unnamed cruiser included. That will make it a 1 versus 1 fight with a Bismarck, which is good for us because we can absolutely trash this Bismarck, especially when we're in close range and the somewhat questionable dispersion of our armor piercing doesn't matter. We'll be able to sink it into his superstructure and penetrate for massive damage, and we'll be able to do damage even easier if the Bismarck wants to give broadside. Even if he's slightly angled, we're still going to be able to penetrate him like nobody's business just because of the excellent penetration on French armor-piercing shells. They're absolutely ridiculous with their high velocity and penetration. I don't think they have improved pen angles, but you wouldn't know it with how they can pen somewhat angled targets just because of how ridiculous they are. And right through the superstructure that Bismarck bow on, we're able to take him out, which puts us ahead on points just enough that we'll be able to win this game. So I'm actually going to finish this with a solo warrior and a thorough carry in the Republique. And I think this just speaks for itself as to how good this ship is. It is absolutely fantastic. If you are not convinced that you want to pay for the Admiralty backing and grind out this campaign, I invite you to think again, because this ship is absolutely a must-have. It is so good, it is so fun, it is so rewarding, and so capable of carrying. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.